Hello there, and welcome to another little bit of a dive into the Tinto talks and the comments surrounding it, the reactions to it, and the yapping that has gone on since the Tinto talk went live on Wednesday. And of course, we did not have a Tinto Maps on Friday because of, I think it was All Saints' Day or All. It was a religious holiday. I don't know which one it was. I'm not religious. I don't know. But either way, we have some responses, some Tinto yaps, if you will, to go through. And of course, this was on the subject of great powers and hegemons. And let's just say it was a tad controversial. A lot of the dislike towards it comes from essentially it being a very gamey system that seems like it was, for the most part, just ported over from EU4. It seems like it may have been, and it's not my words, but I do empathize with this point of view. It feels like it was one of those elements like professionalism that was created for a DLC, not because it was what the game needed, kind of way. Is the sentiment, let's say, that I have been seeing quite a bit. And so it was a little bit controversial. And there are a lot of questions on whether this should be in the game, whether a game revolving around these realistic pillars, as E5 clearly is, should have this kind of system. And I'll leave that for other people to decide. What I will say is, for my part, in EU4, I do think the Great Powers list has a place. I do enjoy that it exists. And in regards to hegemonies, I don't know still, I see both sides. It is mentioned in this dev diary. I maybe should have hovered over it or something. If this is it here. It was mainly a tool to make the player even more powerful when he'd already won the game. This is the win more button. And I feel like pointing this out is important. And, avoiding this as an issue is important. And unfortunately, what we've seen definitely doesn't seem to really do that, right? It is still a win more button, and I guess the way that this is being justified, or the way that this is being, oh no, it's not a win more button, is because it's unlocked earlier, and I still don't know if I understand why. You need to be a great power to be able to be a hegemon, and you just get more bonuses. Your wars cost less, your army takes less attrition, your armies move faster, and I don't really see the realism aspect of this. And I've seen quite a lot of really good suggestions on how to make this a more fitting system that fits with the pillars of, realism and that kind of way. And I will go into that in a bit. I'll go into that at the end of this video. But first, of course, we've got to look at the developed comments, because there has been some, Johan has been good at replying to people. So let us get into some of those. Through I can't pronounce your name. A4 distribution was, after all, designed after diplomacy and naval matters being fed from the same diplo points mana as well. So basically, guy here asking for a diplomatic hegemon. There was also talks of a cultural hegemon. And Johan here saying the diplomatic one is harder to quantify. How do you become the hegemon in diplomacy? And I guess the way that I would describe that as somebody who has a lot of allies, I'd say whether you like it or not. I guess that depends on where you're from and politics and all that. I'm not going to get into whether it's right or not, but I'd say the diplomatic hegemon of the world right now is, well, it's the USA, and more specifically, it's the NATO alliance. That is the diplomatic hegemon, or perhaps even you could say it would be the European Union would be the diplomatic hegemon. And, it is aligned with the USA, like many of the members being in NATO. So how you would, model a diplomatic hegemony in the era of, 1337 to 1821 is you don't, because there wasn't one. I think diplomatic hegemon, not something I think should be in the game. Cultural hegemon, I don't know if I'd really see that either, especially because the hegemonies that we have right now require you, to be an empire, I should say, requires you to have a certain amount of primary culture pops, and I mean, is that not cultural hegemony? But it's cultural hegemony within your own empire, not within the world, which is what the hegemony system is. So, yeah, I don't see either of those really being a relevant factor or something that should be added. Are historical kingdoms with small populations like the Kingdom of Navarre, are they a kingdom rank? Yes, they are, even if they don't have a population of 1 million. Didn't expect Japan of all countries to be a great power at this time. They have a high population and it is kind of united at this point. However, there were obviously a couple of other things that were noticed by Johann as the comments kept going. For example, he noticed that when checking the Shogunate IO, it gave as much bonus as the HRE, which is 250 great power points, and that has been nerfed. And other things that have obviously it is an empire as well. Other things that were nerfed is the amount of great power points that having subjects give you. So, for example, if we have a look here, the Yuan dynasty, the Kingdom of France, the Sultanate of Delhi, and the Golden Horde have very many vassals each, and these are maybe giving too many points, and these will be nerfed quite significantly, apparently. Empire rank is limited to 10 nations max. I don't feel like the dev diary actually said anything like this. You do need to be a great power to be an empire, but you also can't be demoted. So you could get to great power, become an empire, fall out of great power, still an empire. Here, Diamond saying, thought EU4's great power system was too binary. Either you're a GP and can do all the GP things, or you aren't, regardless of if you're the 8th or the 1st. Johan saying here, they talked about scaling the GP bonus depending on your rank, and it might be something they do. I think that would make sense. If the GP thing is to be in the game, then, if being a rank 1 GP is obviously more prestigious, let's say, than being rank 8. Maybe, it just giving more prestige could be a thing, but at the same time, you get more bonus because you are better is just another bit of a win more system, and I think we maybe should avoid win more systems. Are there any pop requirements to become an empire still, or just have 1 million primary culture subjects? It is 5 million of your primary culture. And what does power projection do? In EU4, it gave some soft buffs, and it impacts the colonization of those of lower projection, and you can build buildings in their territory. This is all things we knew already. As we have hegemony, will there be something like the European balance of power to not allow hegemons to control anything? Everything. And the idea is that a hegemon should be something that other countries work against. And so we've seen this, right? In EU4, if you become a hegemon, other countries get minus 50 opinion of you. They have a harder time. You have a harder time making them your ally. And I guess in a way you can stretch this comment of Johann's to be that, right? The other countries will work against you because they like you less in EU4. And that's honestly not enough. And there are certain rumblings within the community, let's say, that are asking for a more reactive system. Instead of I click a button to become a great power, it is something that other countries would declare you a hegemon and then work against you, sort of in a coalition-y kind of way. And being declared a hegemon by other countries would, in fact, give you certain abilities that you wouldn't have, but it'd still be something that other countries would very much try and curb your hegemony. And it was actually IBV that made this thread as well. And I guess I will pop that open now. So IBV made honestly a really good thread. I recommend you go out and read it because I think it is good. I like it. Definitely an upgrade. That is my opinion. But essentially, that is, instead of allowing nations to claim hegemony, it'd be more realistic to reverse that and implement a system where achieving hegemony triggers global consequences. Nations that exhibit dominance in naval power, cultural influence, economic control, or military strength would not claim hegemony, but would be deemed hegemonic by others. And there's also some funny stuff here, like he's saying that being a hegemon, being deemed a hegemon by others, would give you certain abilities. Naval hegemon have the ability to force the world to block an opponent's trade routes. I think that's a great idea. An economic hegemon would manipulate the global trades and currency standards. An army hegemon or military hegemon could force regime changes, installing compliant leaders in weak nations. And a cultural nation hegemon could force a court language, or commit worldwide genocides, or huge cultural assimilation of nobility. One of these things is not like the other is quite honestly the perfect response to that. But yeah, it's a great thread. I think you should read it. And I do think that it was posted on the forums. That's the exact place that it should be posted. And I do think that the devs will have read it. Whether they just take it verbatim or take ideas from it, I don't know, but it is something to think about. And I think this is a bit of an upgrade over the hegemon system that we have in EU4. Which seems to be pretty much the identical one in EU5. Moving on, though, I hope you go with a less rigid system. I think it's best that if there's 10 powers of roughly equal power, they can all be great powers, while in the inverse, if you have only 4 powers that are great and then a massive gap between the other 8, it should be 4 GPs. This is a system that I believe Victoria 3 has, and I agree. I think it is better than having a static 8. If they have a threshold over who would become a great power or not, that would work well. Yeah, I think it's pretty much very much agreed, right? I am one of the first to hate on maybe Victoria 3 when it does something I don't like, but when it does something good, I will absolutely praise it for it. And this system is in Victoria 3 and it works, so why not? Let's say Romania has 10% Romanian population and 90% Hungarian. Let's say it also has 1 million population. When the kingdom will be created, will it also change the name from Romania to the Kingdom of Hungary? Johan saying you would not be able to form a kingdom if you don't have 1 million of your primary culture. And as you can see, people don't like that. And I think I understand why. It doesn't feel very realistic, right? Let me do a census of my population and make sure that 1 million people follow the same culture, have the same language, same values, same whatever, as the country before I can officially call myself a king. I feel like that doesn't have much in the way of historical basis. I don't know. Like, in this example, if I'm playing as Romania and I get a ton of Hungarians and I'm like, okay, I'm going to become the king, he's basically asking, do you become the Kingdom of Hungary? But no, there's not. I guess if there is such a system of changing your primary culture like there is in EU4, maybe then you would be able to do that and you would be able to have 1 million Hungarians. But I guess what this scenario is 100,000 Romanians and 900,000 Hungarians, so I guess not. If I'm a hegemon and my ally calls me to war, will I lose my hegemony if I lose the war? Yes, you will lose it. And then asking how great power score is calculated, and here's the factors for the Emperor of the HRE. Plus 250 points, as I said earlier, for being the Holy Roman Emperor. Which also kind of goes against what was said in the Dev Diary itself, which is that there was a single European empire, which is, the Roman Empire in Constantinople, but I guess the Holy Roman Empire also counts somewhat. I guess it's, a part of an international organization, so it's not exactly country is great power, country is empire, but either way. But yeah, you get it from stability, population scaled by control, your monthly income, your prestige, army tradition, your high legitimacy, the embraced institutions, and various other things. I like this. This is a much, much better system than my dev is higher. You know, this is fantastic, and this is part of the reason why I'm still in favor of having the Great Power system. It has become more in depth while still being a system that I enjoy. Is the Holy Roman Empire not considered a singular great power? Does the Emperor get any special points to boost him? Plus 250 bonus for being an Emperor. But Upper Bavaria in 1337 is a tiny country of its own. So it gets the bonus for being, the great power point bonus. But it's still quite a small country. So I guess that's why it doesn't become a great power. Plus 250 onto Bavaria here is not going to bring it over 509. But yeah, moving on. Can a country lose a rank? Not through normal mechanics. Means that there's probably going to be some way to lose ranks, but not ones that we're seeing. It was still called the Byzantine Empire even when it was reduced to basically a city-state. I disagree. It was not called the Byzantine Empire until long after the empire fell. It was the Roman Empire, or the Empire of the Romans, in their own language, Basilia ton Romaean. Look, I'm just being a Roma boo here. Yeah, I've had discussions with Johan about this. But yeah, no, essentially, he is right, though. It was, even when it was still a rump city-state, in 1452, it was still called an empire. So it makes sense. Why isn't Yuan Empire rank? Let me rephrase this. Why do you think this is the case? I mean, there was literally nothing stating that Yuan was not empire rank. It is, in fact, an empire. Other countries that are empires? Ethiopia, empire. Japan, empire. Probably some others as well. I'm not sure. If I am the economic hegemon and I lose a small conflict with another country, in which I only lose a couple of poor locations while leaving intact all the territories and resources that make me the economic hegemon, why should I lose the title? If you lose a war, you're not a hegemon. Yeah, I can see both sides of this. I definitely can see both sides of this. I don't think that you should lose hegemony if your ally loses a war that you're technically in. But if the war is declared on you and you lose, I'm totally fine with you losing hegemony. That makes sense to me. Can it be more punishing? Like if you have a strong navy, and this is basically going back to the thread from before that I was pointing out. If you have a strong navy, it's not you who claims the hegemony, but the other nations that start deeming you as a naval hegemon, cutting ties with you and becoming more fearful, like an end game limitation. Will also stop the power creep because you'll need more buffs when you're literally a hegemon. And again, like I was saying, maybe this is something that the Paradox devs will be reading, this thread. And it seems like he finds it interesting. This is good. And then there, Ethiopia is an empire. But yeah, this is exactly the kind of thing, right? The gears are starting to turn for him, and he's thinking of the ways that this kind of idea can be implemented. Whether he follows through on it and it actually ends up being the way it is implemented, we won't know for a while, but it's possible. It's certainly possible. This is I like this comment. I like this comment a lot. And then, yeah, Ethiopia is an empire. And finally, it's sure that France should be the second great power. And it's just subjects add too much. And that is, again, confirmed that subjects are giving a little bit too much. So maybe the Golden Horde is going to jump up to rank 2. Borgajin supremacy, I guess, is what we're looking for. But yeah, that is all for today. Again, we did not have a Tinto maps this week, but we did have a Saturday building that we'll just quickly find. That is this one right here. The Peasant Training Ground gives the peasants power, because this is a building that the commoners' estate will build themselves. If they have the correct privilege, that being the militias of the commoners. The privilege will give more peasant levy size, so something you want. Levy combat efficiency goes up, something you want. Peasants allowed weapons. I don't really know what this does, but it does an thing. So that is it. But yeah, they will build this. The peasants get more power, and you will get 1 extra monthly manpower, which doesn't feel like a lot. But if this can be built in every single location, and you have a lot of locations, I guess it probably can add up. There's a few more responses here. Will there be any tooltip to say why the estate will always be allowed to build it? Yes, there will be. Not to be contrarian, but I'm aware of the many buffs that come from the privilege itself rather than the building. But isn't 100% power to the peasants a bit too much of a penalty for only 1 manpower a month? And it is in that location, you know, peasants getting 100% more power. But if you think about it, if the peasants have arbitrary number 4 power, plus 100% is another 4 power, and that could still be minuscule to irrelevant, right? Isn't there a value that tells you how much the demand for weapons is increased? And it's scaled on the amount of peasants and is shown in the tooltip for the weaponry. And yes, with that out of the way, that is all I have time for. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this little dive into the yapping that has gone on. And let me know what you think about me going into other comments that aren't specifically Johann's responses, like I did with this thread here. If you like that kind of thing, where I'm reading other suggestions on the forums and bringing those to your attention, let me know in the comment section below. I'd be interested to know your thoughts on that. But until Wednesday, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you then. Bye-bye.